Well, good Thursday morning. Welcome to the WLBB Community Voice here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3, streaming live online at newstalk1330.com. And this morning, we are on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. So good morning to you. You can already see that this room is packed with testosterone. Three handsome young studs from Carrollton Police Department, also part of the multi-agency Aggressive Criminal Enforcement Unit. This morning, I got Chad Taylor, who's 16 years with CPD.
Yep, that's correct.
And Kyle Jones, I didn't get the time that Kyle's been in with the police. And Ian Wright, I didn't get that either. But we'll talk about community outreach police services a little later on, if that's cool. And, of course, the big topic today is going to be about drugs and gangs here in Carrollton. I still hear people surprised that we have any gangs at all in the Carrollton. When you tell them that, it's like, yeah, we've been talking about that for 10 years. I still hear people that are surprised, and they're scared. But they're surprised. Before we dig deep into that, I want to remind everybody that there is a Fentanyl Awareness Summit, which is going on March the 2nd. It'll be at City Station, a day of conversation to promote education, legislation, and enforcement. You'll hear from local and state leaders, family members who've lost loved ones, and you'll also learn the staggering statistics regarding what's going on in our own backyard. There's still places to register? Can you still register online? Do you guys still need to...
Yeah, you can still register online.
Okay, it's at like tanner.org or something, right?
It is. It's tanner.org /fentanyl.
Okay. Oh, so you got the little thing that shows you the chart, right? Shows you how many seats are left and things like that?
No, I don't have the
seat what that is?
number
Okay.
left. This is not up to date, but as far as I know, it is still available. I know you have to pre-register for lunch.
Okay. Well, and that event is Thursday. You bring that mic down a little bit, angle you more. That event is Thursday, March the 2nd. Starts at 9 o'clock in the morning, and it'll go into the afternoon. And food will be provided by Little Hawaiian, so you can't beat that. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
And appreciate you guys coming out here. Look how pumped up they are. They're just excited to be here. I'm like, thanks, man. Thanks for inviting us, man. All right. Chad, I've known for quite a long time, but I appreciate you bringing these guys in and talking about this ahead of this summit. Kind of give everybody maybe, I don't know, a teaser, an appetizer of what's going to be coming up at this summit. So, the ACE unit, Aggressive Criminal Enforcement. Tell me about that. Remind us what that's about. It's a multi-agency group. It's not just Carrollton. And I know when I talk about it, I always have a problem saying who's leading it and who's part of it, because it's at least 2 or 3 agencies, right?
Yes, 3 agencies: Carroll Police Department, Carroll County Sheriff's Office, and the University of West Georgia. We currently have 3 and have added a 4th. The Sheriff's Office has 2 and is adding a 3rd uniform position, and the college has 1 attached to us. But we cover the whole county, so it's been really effective for addressing local issues.
Now, are you guys? Is it Aggressive Criminal Enforcement or is it Aggressive Criminal Enforcement?
Aggressive Criminal Enforcement.
Is it okay?
So, yeah, we wear a lot of hats. One of our primary focuses is narcotics and gang intelligence. But we serve the entire county. We serve a lot of warrants, so we handle a lot of tactical issues. There's just a lot of hats that they wear. They do a lot of public speaking and education. I know Kyle and Ian are set up to speak at 12 for Life on 2 or 3 different occasions.
Yeah, March 10th is the next one.
A lot of civic organizations. So not only are they taking primary lead in the gangs, narcotic investigations, but they're also working on education. And we also help lead a lot of violent crimes. We actually, one of our guys, Sergeant McCormick with the Sheriff's Office, just got a murder conviction last night. It came in. We had...
You able to tell us about that?
A little bit. I know it's still new coming out, but we're really proud. I think he did a really good job with Cam Allen and Jadaricus Caldwell were convicted of murder from a murder in Bowden, happened just a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, young basketball player for Bowden.
That's correct.
Yeah, he was back home. I think back.
He was
school or something. But yeah, I'm sure we'll talk more about that in the coming days with the press release. I'm sure the DA will put something out.
He is, but we're excited. I think that's a good job. That gets justice for that family. It's solid work on Jeremy's part.
And that went late last night too.
It did. We found out at probably around 10 o'clock last night.
Mm-hmm. Chad Taylor, Kyle Jones, and Ian Wright, our guests on this morning's Community Voice programs. We talk about the war on drugs and gangs here in Carrollton. Does Carrollton have a gang problem? It's a simple question.
Well, we'll let Kyle talk a little bit about that. He actually also has a follow-up from a case we talked about last year, a really, really good gang case involving the purchase and distribution of opioids. But, yeah, there are some gang issues.
Yeah, we have them. I wouldn't describe it as a huge
problem in Carroll County, but to say that we don't have gangs here would be a misrepresentation. I think the worst thing we can do is put our head in the sand and not address that issue, because we know based on studies from 2018 that the Georgia Gang Investigators Association did, 60% of violent crime in our state is gang related. So if we address the gang issue, we cut down on that 60% of violent crime that happens in our community. And in that survey, talking about is there a gang issue, 159 counties in Georgia, 157 of those counties participated in that survey, and all 157 said that they had gang issues in their county.
Well, what do we define as a gang? I mean, is it just a group of kids walking down the street looking mad? I mean, what's the actual definition?
So the definition of a gang is found in 1615.3 in the official Code of Georgia Annotated, OCGA, if you Google that. But it defines a gang. It's a group of 3 or more people who are associated together, whether formally or informally, who have certain identifiers, whether that be certain signs, symbols, colors, traditions, who participate in criminal gang activity. So that first part of that definition defines a lot. Like you could take the Boy Scouts; they have the certain, uniform.
Oh, so
even the police.
Look at the ACE unit.
Right. So people say the police are a gang, right? So we have certain, attire, certain signs, symbols, and things like that. But that last part, that participate and conduct criminal gang activity, that's the key part there. So when we're looking at a gang case, we have to prove what we call a nexus between the crime that this person that we are alleging is, participating in that, is a member or associate of that gang, and that the crime they're committing is in furtherance of the gang. So that last part is really the key part that we have to prove, and we work with the DA's office in proving in court, is that this person, it's not illegal to be in a gang. So just being a gang member is not illegal in and of itself. But when you participate in criminal gang activity, and we know based on our the law that the legislators wrote in 1992, this was enacted because they say our state's in a state of crisis caused by these violent criminal street gangs, and they terrorize our communities. So we take that issue head on. Luckily, we have good leadership, good admin who support that mission, and we don't pretend that it's not here. But identifying those people, getting ahead of that problem, and then when these people that are associated with a gang commit violent criminal gang acts in our community, then we absolutely, use our resources, work with the DA's office on prosecuting them, because that gang act is a sentence enhancer. So they have to commit what we call a predicate offense. So whether that's ag assault, trafficking dope, drive-by shooting, whatever the original charge is, when we charge that gang act on top of that based on our investigation, that's a sentence enhancer. So that's each gang act charge anywhere from 5 to 20 years. The judge has discretion from 5 to 20 years is kind of those mandatory minimums, and those got to be served consecutive. They can't be served concurrent. So it enhances that sentence to get those bad actors off the street, protect our communities.
Do you feel like that is a deterrent, though?
I feel that we've had some really good success in the last few years. Our DA's office, we take pride in the cases that we turn in. I'll give you just some statistics. Last year, between the 3 of us, we were assigned 305 cases within the ACE unit. Now, those may be cases that patrol made that get sent up to Criminal Investigations Division, which we're a part of CID. So they get sent it to us. Those are cases that we've initiated on our own. I think we had, between the 3 of us, 56 to 60 self-initiated cases of those 305. But of those 305 cases, only 4 of those we turned in to prosecute as gang charges in Superior and juvenile court. So, and we have a lot of juvenile is kind of the big issue there. As far as gangs go, is where we see it a lot. Typically, the most violent, kind of the most dangerous, are those juvenile gang members, because they're not fully developed physically, and I don't know that they understand the seriousness of what they're involved with and what people are asking them to do for the gang on behalf of that gang. But we only turned in 4, so we make sure that, like I said, it's not illegal to be in a gang. We have that freedom of association protected by our Constitution. But when you start committing violent acts and drug trafficking and weapons trafficking in our community based on your association with that gang to further your position within that gang, we'll absolutely drop the hammer and make sure that we work with the DA's office. They do a great job. To give them a shout out, Herb Cranford, the DA, Jet Bessinger, his second in command, senior ADA Laura Todd, and all the ADAs, their support staff, investigators. When we turn in a case file, we take pride in that. Feel like we turn in a good product, but they go that extra mile. Their investigators, they're following up, doing things that maybe we didn't, check off the box. They're following up on those cases. But to give you an update on one we talked about the last time me and Chad were on here. Mr. Johnson, he was a Grape Street Crip from the Atlanta area, had moved out here, kind of set up shop, him and another Grape Street Crip associate. But he actually pled guilty a few months ago and was sentenced to 20, served 10 in prison based on it. And that was a prescription fraud case. Mm-hmm. It went a lot deeper than that. There was a lot going on. That was not his first run-in with the law. He'd actually been given a second chance in Rockdale County for aggravated assault. That was a gang case, part of a gang-related armed robbery. He got probation for that. Got caught in Douglas County with a gun while on probation. He got a third chance for that. And then he set up shop in Carrollton, and that's where he messed up. And listening to his calls and things like that, he thinks that our area is just a country podunk town. But that's not the case. I mean, it is country, and we like our community the way we have a good size here. Mm-hmm. I feel like we're big enough to have the ability to work these types of cases, but we're also small. You have that small town feel here. But as far as the ACE unit goes, we know what we're doing. We have a lot of training in the cases that we work, and we absolutely have time and the drive to go after those and prosecute those that maybe the bigger cities don't have. They're tied up. They have limited resources. They're stretched thin. Here, our admin and both agencies, all three agencies, have invested in the ACE unit, and we absolutely have the time.
I wish that you hope you get the word out, because we do stories every few months about something you guys. Hard-working investigation. We think about all the cameras that are around Carrollton and can spot the license plates too. You think that would be a deterrent from people feeling so confident coming in here?
It's been a game changer. The flock cameras that you're mentioning, we've got upwards 20 to 30. I think, and they're adding more. The sheriff's office has some. They're adding more. The University of West Georgia Police.
Harrison County just got some too, didn't they? Or they applied for some anyway. Did they not get them?
Yeah, I'm not sure if Harrison County did or not, but I know we have private entities in the city. There's a couple of neighborhoods that have bought flock cameras,
right, yeah.
And then we have access to those. But like Kyle said, those are game changers. It's almost a force multiplier in the solvability of some of these cases.
Yeah, when I hear you guys talk about that, how much time you spend in there and just looking at all that.
Yeah, you can. And the technology keeps getting better and better with it. So it's really impressive, but it has been a game changer.
I want to ask you a couple more questions about gang activity and stuff, but I do need to take a break because we're about halfway through the show already. Thanks, Kyle, for getting us through that.
Sorry.
That's if you have any questions or comments for these guys this morning, feel free to post those on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page, and I'll take a look at those during the break. Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
I'm Michael Flynn, Oak Mountain Academy class of 1978.
Katie Flynn, class of 2010.
Justin Flynn, class of 2014.
Logan Flynn, class of 2019.
And I'm Marnie Flynn, current teacher at OMA.
My uncle Richard Orm Flynn, a founding father of Oak Mountain Academy, had a vision to see students become confident leaders who hold a faith-based value system in an academically rigorous environment. We are proud to celebrate 60 years of fulfilling my uncle's vision.
Our family invites you to visit the campus or oakmountain.us today.
8:45. Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice program, News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. My guests this morning, Chad Taylor, Kyle Jones, and Ian Wright with the Multi-Agency Aggressive Criminal Enforcement Unit, the ACE unit. And they're on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. Got a couple of comments here. Jay Collins checking in. He is the chair of the Homeland Security Committee for the House. He says, keep doing what you're doing, and we will keep supporting you under the Gold Dome. And old friend Karen Frazier, a huge thank you to all of you that do all this hard work and keep us safe. Do you guys know Karen? I mean, she's right next door to you. A lot of the time, she's right there at those lofts. But appreciate you guys checking in this morning. And then again, any kind of questions or comments, feel free to throw those on the Facebook page, and I will take a look at those. Still staying on the gang topic, and I'm guessing either one of you or Kyle can take it. But what's the attractiveness for our community to be part of a gang? What is it in our community in West Georgia that's attractive? And you kind of alluded to it. I mean, as far as other people coming from Atlanta and other places, but what is it that brings them here? And then the kids who are already here, what is it that makes them want to be in gangs? So,
I think there's not just for gang activity, but there's an attractiveness here for just young adults. Period. We've got a really nice college. It's a big college. We've got a good downtown area. There's some appeal to that. If you're between the ages of 18 and 25, there's 15,000 students here that you could come over on the weekends and just party. So the appeal is the same appeal it's always been since a long time ago when you and I were 18 to 25. Yeah. Well, a lot longer for you than me, but anyways.
I did it from 18 to 35, so it's okay.
Understood. So maybe not that long ago. But there's an appeal there. There's an attraction. There's parties on the weekends. There's huge apartment complexes. We have apartment complexes in Carrollton that are college living that have the population of small towns. You're looking at 2,000 to 5,000 in those apartment complexes at any given time. So if you are young and you're looking to interact, males, females, there's a lot of people here. And then you've got our downtown area that, it turns into a bar scene at night. That just is what it is. I think the patrons, I think that the owners and operators of those have tried to curb that over the years. There's been some real good conversations. I know our city manager, David Brooks, really focused on keeping that in check because we don't want to get out of hand. I think you and I sat here 4 or 5 years ago and had a conversation about issues that we had on the square, late hour issues, and they have changed our hours. And I know I'm kind of getting off topic, but I think they've done a good job. But that's the appeal. That's what brings them here. You may come here and be a student for a year and drop out and never leave. And then you have friends from wherever you come from, Atlanta, Birmingham. They come hang out with you. And honestly, if you're going to sell grams of marijuana,
that's a huge population.
That is a huge population. You can set up and have, 3,000 readily available customers in one of those apartment complexes.
I know you and I have talked about this, and I can't remember the gentleman out in Douglas County who kind of started. I guess he really was one of the first guys to focus on gang activity. I think he's from Temple, but he worked for Douglas County Sheriff's Office for a long time. I can't remember his name, but he had talked about it as well. And you and I, at least maybe 5 years ago, how bold the gang participants and leaders are, even on Facebook and on YouTube. Oh, yeah. Are you still seeing that? Are they not getting the hit that it'd be pretty easy to be found out? Are they still doing that?
So these guys, they spend a lot of time, and I'm going to let them get into that as far as making social media cases. They're very proud of it. And I think that's a good topic to spin off in.
Yeah, they use those platforms because it's free advertisement for them, for their gang. Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, Twitter, all those. So they use those. Now we collect that information if we see that it's gang culture evidence and it's somebody we've identified as a potential, a gang associate, gang member. That evidence can be shown in court to prove their association, to prove their membership. If they're being tried on a crime. So yeah, they use those. As far as the appeal for them, a lot of these kids, they don't come from the best situation at home, so there are issues there that I think lead them to that. But I think the biggest motivator of gang activity that we see is currency, is money. Mm-hmm. It's to make money. These guys, 99% of your gang members or gang associates aren't out working at Southwire, working, at Tanner, wherever, working a 9 to 5 or, some job.
Or at Gradit Communications.
or at Gradit Communications.
99%. She says 99%.
Right. So, but I mean, they're involved in illicit activity to make money, and there's a lot of money to be made there if you're smart and stay out of jail. But most of them end up running in with us, and then you spend years of your life in prison for an association with a gang and some activity you got involved in that is just nonsense. But I would say that number two, besides making money, is respect. From what we see, these people, these kids, they want to be respected. They look up, you look at music culture, popular culture, and things they see on YouTube. These huge artists who have millions of dollars and they're flashing all cars and that life, and look at where they're living at and what they come from, and they want to be a part of that. And then you have maybe an older one who's 17, 18, 20 recruiting 13, 14, 15-year-olds, and telling them, hey, if you sell this for me, join this gang. You can get money. Two, you'll have we're your family. You'll get respect. People will respect you based on these colors, this gang that you represent.
And we'll be your family.
And they'll be the family that they might not have at home.
Yeah.
So,
guys, the time right now is 8:51. I want to make sure that we at least have 2 minutes to talk with Ian when we come back from our first break. Come back with about 2 minutes. I think we'll focus on fentanyl and drugs as far as the work you guys do with that. Again, questions and comments, feel free to put those on the News Talk 1330 Facebook page. Again, time right now is 8:51. We might go over 9 o'clock, right? And that'll be okay. Community Voice is brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
As a believer in the power of education, we are called to set the standard by shaping and empowering the minds of future generations through quality education. Oak Mountain Academy embraces this philosophy, which is why my children attend this prestigious school. I am elated to serve on the OMA Board of Trustees, where together we prepare students and remind them to trust and believe in the power to transform the world. I'm Dr. Brian Bain, inviting you to celebrate our 60-year legacy of academic excellence. Visit us at oakmountain.us.
$8:52. Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. We're on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page this morning, so thank you for tuning in. If you missed any of the program, it will be available on Facebook for eternity on the News Talk 1330 Facebook page. And the audio version will be on our website at newstalk1330.com. Talking about drugs and gangs here in Carrollton with the Carrollton police officers Chad Taylor, Kyle Jones, and Ian Wright, if you forgot Ian's name. This is ahead of the... let's see, it's a summit, Fentanyl Awareness Summit, which is coming up on March the 2nd. It'll be at City Station. And I think Joel Richards and Michael Mancy are on the program next Wednesday to promote that one last time. But, just wanted to put some things in people's heads to maybe stress why this summit could be so important. Drug activity, when I first started working here about 12, 13 years ago, we could have done a meth story every single day. And then you just quit talking about it because it's like, something, how many times can you sit there and say, all right, guy got busted for meth, or his meth lab blew up, or I think we'd probably still report that. But, making shake and bake? Shake and bake. In the Mountain Dew bottles and things like that. Fentanyl is the biggest issue right now, you think?
It is a huge issue. It really is, mainly because of the deaths. I think each drug brings its own problems. As a community, we've seen the problems meth brings. It's terrible. And I know nobody wants to hear this. We've seen the problems that marijuana brings, especially now because it's it's money driven, and there's a lot of money involved. But with that comes violence. That's one reason we still focus on it, even though the current trend is decriminalizing it. But here, it generates a lot of violence. It really does. A lot of our shootings stem from money generated from marijuana and things like that. But our deaths, which should be a focus, spin from fentanyl and heroin. I know when we were off air just now, Kyle was talking a little bit about how heroin for the first time has jumped up into our top 3 for seizures this year. And heroin and fentanyl cases are really, really hard to work in quantities for us because they're user level. They're real small amounts create big effects. That's why Ian, we're going to make him talk here in a few minutes.
He's been wanting to.
Yeah, you can tell. He can. So, but really, these fentanyl and heroin cases, they're really, really hard to work because a lot of it is they buy and burn. They use it really quickly. There's not a lot of those large possession quantity cases like you can see with meth, where you see ounces to kilos. And that's why they're so hard to work. But Ian this year did have our largest heroin and fentanyl bust, a really good sized bust for us.
And it was this year in 2023?
End of 22.
It was December 2022. So
what can you tell us about it without, I guess, giving
Yes, sir. So, like I said, the reason we don't get in such quantities was simply because it's so expensive. It's one of the more expensive narcotics or drugs you can buy. But back in December, we started working a case up in the north end of the county. Got some information about a residence, about some individuals. Did some research on them, did some investigation, found out they were on probation. Ended up having enough info to obtain a search warrant for the residence. When we hit the residence, they were both there. During a search of the house, we found, I think it was just shy of a kilo of methamphetamine, and then we also got almost 4 ounces of heroin. Now, heroin we typically find is in powder form. It can be brown, gray, black tar heroin, just your traditional stuff, but this was actually pretty bricked up heroin. And then there was also pure fentanyl that we also found separately from that heroin. But yeah, it was just shy of 4 ounces of bricked up, what I call bricked up heroin, which is how it's packaged and shipped in quantities. But yeah, it was, I think today that was our largest heroin seizure. So
I don't know, make selling it attractive, but what's that worth, street worth of that when you sell it?
Oh goodness, I think you might know.
I think that was anywhere from $6,000 to $8,000 street value. And when he's talking about bricked up, he means like it's still hard, like it was fresh off the kilo, like it was shipped from Mexico to here.
And that's what we think about the majority of it. I mean, it's coming from other countries.
So yes, sir. So Atlanta's the hub for the whole Eastern Seaboard when it comes to illegal narcotics. Everything comes in. I mean, as much as we hate to say it, it comes through our county, it comes through I-20 into Atlanta, and then ships out from there, going north, south, east, and west. But yeah, I said Atlanta's the biggest hub. So majority of our heroin, methamphetamine, if you trace it back to the root of it, it all comes straight from Atlanta, and then it'll come back. So it'll pass through us and then come right back to us.
What's the deal with fentanyl? If people are selling fentanyl and it's the idea that it could potentially kill the person who's buying it, why do they want to sell that? Why do they want to kill their customers?
That's a Chad, you want to take
so
that?
it generates another high. It's just pushing to another level. So they want us to put out the most potent product they can because that generates more users. The problem is they're mixing fentanyl, just mixing it in. We're just throwing it in there, mixing it up, and selling it to our customers with no ability to govern how much they get at any given time.
That's the problem I see with these overdoses too that we have in Carroll County. People aren't going out to buy straight fentanyl. It is very deadly. It only takes a very small, minute amount to kill you if you're not used to that. If you hadn't built up a tolerance to opioids, people aren't going out to buy pure fentanyl 99% of the time. But what we see is the cartels in Mexico, and then your street level dealers here in Atlanta. They mix that because it's so potent. It will give somebody that high, but they're mixing it in pills, pressed pills. So you may be buying oxycodone off the street because you can't get a prescription for it. But those are fake pills from Mexico laced with fentanyl to give you that opioid effect because it's so potent. But I mean, these aren't chemists. These are guys in the woods of Juarez, Mexico, or wherever they're making this stuff at in these labs and shipping it over. These aren't professional chemists, but people are buying. They may be using heroin, but it may be laced with fentanyl, which is way more potent and overdoses them. I mean, it basically causes respiratory arrest. It stops the body. It stops you from breathing.
Time right now is 9 o'clock. You guys care to stick around for 6 more minutes?
No.
Because that's what we'll need, is exactly 6 minutes before we get into the Glenn Beck program. If there's a need for Narcan anywhere in Carrollton or Carroll County, are you guys the one that are called every time?
Yeah, so we I just looked up some quick numbers. Last year alone, our officers, from the quick numbers I pulled, administered Narcan 14 times. So that's, to me, that's 14 lives they saved, and that has progressed over the years. That's one of the reasons for the summit, and one of Joel's just driving factors for this is he wants Narcan readily available. For us, it is. We found some ways to get it free for all of our officers. You can attend a class and get 2 doses of Narcan for free. It is mandatory with us. We're hosting this class. We took it at the sheriff's office probably a year and a half ago. And
last week too.
Yeah, and we did it last week. We hosted it at the PD last week, so everybody gets 2 doses of Narcan. But we hit a search warrant last week, and 2 of the individuals had Narcan in their pocket, so they're preparing themselves to overdose. And drug-related deaths are just skyrocketing. I looked, pulled some coroner numbers from 21 and 22. There was 44 drug-related deaths, 21 confirmed involving fentanyl in 21. And then in 22, the numbers stopped in November. They didn't have the December numbers when I looked at these, and there were 19 involving fentanyl just up to that point. I know we had a surge in the city in November and December last year. I'm not really sure what the cause of that surge was, but
was it like during? I don't want to suggest during school year or anything like that. I mean, was it the summer? Was it the beginning of the school year or end of the school year?
I didn't look at when they happened. I just kind of pulled the overall numbers, and I don't know what the reason for the late surge was, but there was a late surge, and I'll be curious to see what the numbers look like this year. But
now the law, Georgia law right now, if you have to use Narcan on somebody who's overdosed and passed out, they can't be arrested, right?
Correct. Yes, sir. So this is the medical amnesty law. Because how that went into effect was a lot of people were dying. They were overdosing and passing away because their friends that were around them were scared to call the law because they didn't want to get arrested. So they, our legislation put that law into it. It's called the Medical Amnesty Act or Medical Amnesty Law, to where if something like that does happen, we do respond to the scene. There are certain parameters that take that out of play, but for the most part, if they are overdosed, they can call us. We come out there, take care of them, and they don't have to, have the fear of repercussion of getting arrested or anything like that.
How do you guys feel about that? I mean, have you seen it improve, extend lives, or?
I think we save lives. I don't know that we improve lives because, I mean, I know that sounds harsh, but this is an addiction and an epidemic that is just taking over, and we have people building tolerances to Narcan.
Yes, sir.
That are taking multiple doses of Narcan. Wow. We've had multiple overdoses in a week with the same person. So we are saving lives, and I hope through education and especially public awareness education, that we start to turn the corner and figure a way to improve lives. But I don't know. We are saving lives with this law. I will say that.
Well, I mean, it's a tough gig. I mean, if you guys are seeing these people, I mean, it's got to weigh on you a little bit.
Well, so I think for us as a whole, and I'll speak on, I guess I'm going to speak for everybody, is now when you start to see the effect of kids, that you're really seeing when you have mom and dad overdosing and being transported in the same week, and we go in and there's 4, 5, 6-year-olds, in horrible living conditions, and I think the county had a 7-month-old overdose, accidental overdose, but the effect that you see, the trickle effect, those are the ones to me that start to weigh on you. And when you're using at the time, I don't think that parents see that effect.
Well, guys, we've got about 2 minutes. Let me make sure that we promote this Fentanyl Awareness Summit one more time. March the 2nd, it'll be at City Station. Again, Carroll County's Fentanyl Awareness Summit. You can register online. It's free and easy. It's Tanner.org, and there's another slash. But once you go to Tanner, you'll find promotion for that. Again, that's Thursday, the second day of March. It begins at 9 o'clock, goes into the afternoon. Lunch is provided by Little Hawaiian. Chad Taylor, Kyle Jones, Ian Wright, thank you guys for talking to us this morning. I know we could talk for a whole hour. I mean, especially Ian. We could have kept on going on and on, but thank you for all the work you guys do, and I appreciate all the information you guys share with me and the rest of us. Time right now is 9:05. You're going to stay tuned for Glenn Beck, which is coming up in about 1 minute. We skip national news at the top of the hour. We skip local news comes up at 9:30, so stick around for that. Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3.